most royal Pharaoh. With robust trade routes firmly in place, we should now show Egypt what success and wealth can bring. Bubastis provides a perfect location for such a city. We can protect our valuable trade routes to the east, while paying homage to Bast, who has watched over Egypt. Bast's city should be like no other in Egypt. It should be as lovely as the lotus flower, blooming forth with entertainment, schools, libraries, and places of worship. Its citizens should be well supplied with the finer things, including imported incense. When complete, Bubastis will be the jewel in the Twin Crowns. While you are building this glorious city, pay heed to the storm rising in the east. The thundering of horses' hooves are heard throughout Canaan, and lightning-quick chariots are laying waste to all in their path. These formidable chariots, the likes of which have never been seen anywhere, are driven by the Hyksos warriors. Already, storm clouds have been spotted on the Egyptian horizon, and you should steel yourself against the impending danger.
Hi, it's Moeller Mahler, and I am going to take a journey through Bubastis. It's a pretty fun map. Uh, it's mainly a building map. It's got a very high culture rating requirement. Get to build 4 palatial estates, 2 large obelisks, so it's going to be quite a while shipping granite into town, so we'll want to get on that right away. But one of the things I hope to show during this episode is the use of the blocks that I use and how they're balanced for culture, and hopefully we won't have too much trouble getting to 85 and build a pretty city. So we'll just pause the game here and zoom out. So it's a pretty decent kingdom road. The trading ships come in from up here on the north, and they go out on the bottom. So I always like to have my docks close to where the ships come in, because that's a long time to wait for trade to happen. I also know that the immigrants come in from the bottom here, so it's always good to get your housing started close to there. So let's take a look at the world map and see what kind of trading partners we have. There's a land route where we're going to get our granite from, copper if we want it. It's not really a military mission, but you always get surprised for troop requests or something during a peaceful mission. This is an exact duplicate of the other trade route, copper and granite. So it looks like we're going to be able to get 30 granite per year into town. We need 200 to build a monument, which means we need 400 granite. So that is a large amount of time we're going to be waiting for granite. So we'll want to make sure we get all 30 of those in the first year if we can afford it. Icken sells beer, which we'll definitely need on this map because I checked before and we can't produce it. They buy weapons, which isn't a super profitable thing when you're importing copper. They buy 4,000 wood. We can do wood on this map, so downside is that's a very expensive water route, but potentially lucrative payoff, so 4,000 wood is something we need to consider. Here's the other trade route where we're going to get our luxury goods from for our palatial estates. We'll probably bring in gems and make jewelry if we can, otherwise we'll just buy jewelry. So they buy weapons, of course, which we're not going to do. They do pottery, which we might do. Wood, that's 8,000 wood a year that we can sell to these 2 people on the water routes. It's also a very expensive one. Linen we can do, papyrus we can do, so we're going to hopefully max out our sales to every year. And last we have Fennet, or Pennet, or I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. Just have fun playing the game. This is where we'll get our second luxury good when we go to do our palatial estates. We'll use the jewelry if we're going to do any manors. That's also an expensive trade route, but we'll be waiting for that one when we're closer to the end. So that is the world map. Let's just go through what we can do again. I like this feature. We've got 4 different types of food on this map. We'll probably do all 4 if we can, because people are always asking for things. So we can do grain, which means we can do cattle with the straw. We can do fishing wharfs. We can do hunting lodges. So it looks like we can produce all 4 of those. I don't think we can sell any of them based on what I remember just looking at the map, and I don't think we can import any of them either. No. So we're going to be using granaries. Production, shipwright, reeds to make papyrus, which we can sell to He. Wood, which we're going to chop a lot of. If we're going to try to do 8,000 a year, I don't know if it's possible for us to even get close to that amount of exports on wood, but we'll give it a shot. We can make clay, which means we can do pottery, so selling pots is an option. I think I remember seeing up here, yeah, we do have flax, so that means we can do weavers, so we can also sell that to He. Brickworks, I don't think anybody was buying bricks, and we definitely don't need it for anything, so we won't be using the straw for anything other than making cattle meat, and also I think we're using it in the zoo, and that's one of the ways we'll try to get to 85 culture, which is usually not achievable unless you've got the zoo as an option, and the Senate House we have as an option. So we'll be doing both of these somewhere along the line. So let's think about how we want to plan the city. I think I want to put a couple of large blocks down here, 3 or 4 large blocks. Probably do distribution. I don't know where we're going to put our palatial estates. Maybe up here, maybe down here. We'll farm this, of course. I don't think we're crossing the river on either side, if we can help it, just because there isn't a lot of anything that I think would be useful up here. We would only go up here if we needed the food, which I don't think we do, because if I remember from a long time ago, yeah, Bast is our patron god, so when we build a temple complex to Bast, we're going to not eat a lot. So if we put our trading area up here, then that's probably where we're going to want to set up the engine. Where can we do a dock? We can do a dock here. We could do a dock here. We could do a dock here. If we're building our city here and we're producing all of our saleables up here, which will be our papyrus, which will be our wood, which will be our flax or our linen if we plant flax up here, then we're going to want to ship it all down to town, so we don't want a large walk. So probably want our dock here, some storage areas here, so we can transport things to our main city, because we'll be bringing all our papyrus and all of our linen down from up here. So we want to know, we've got some birds here that we can use to feed the town, but if I'm going up here, then I probably want to cover either hunting up here, which means we're going to have to bring game meat down to the zoo, or straw over to here to do the zoo. Or we'll hunt these birds here for game meat for the town. And then maybe do fish up here, because we want to do all 4 foods just to handle requests. So I think that'd work. If we feed our initial people before we get to the farms with game meat down here, feed them with fish up here, then we can eventually start working on grain and cattle. So before we go and start bringing people over here, let's just think about what we want to do up here. So 2,500 linen, 2,500 papyrus. So we want probably 5 weavers and 5 papyrus makers initially up here. We're going to want to increase that when we start needing our own linen and our own papyrus. But I think right off the bat, our goal will be to put some fish, put a ship right here to handle the fish, our dock right here. What makes more sense? Sorry, this is very, very boring, I'm sure, for everybody except for me right now. So this is a 4 spot, so we could do 2 fishing wharfs here, or we could do our ship right here. I think we'll put the ship here. We'll put 2 fishing wharves here to feed this little area here. We're just going to make a small block just to feed the economic engine of the town, and then we'll put the dock here, of course, just in case we need to send troops away. I guess we could build transport wharfs and warships down here. What is that big enough for? I don't want things too far away from the shipwright. So we could either do another fish here, although I think 2's enough. Maybe we'll think about putting a transport wharf there in case we get called by water somewhere. So fish, shipwright, dock, transport wharf, and then we want to do our reed gatherers, our papyrus makers, get some flax farms down, do linen and wood, and a small housing block. So I think that's what we want to do up there, so we'll probably start to plan that. And then we're going to start at the same time as that, we're going to start building our city proper over here, which we're going to feed with game meat and just keep pretty low level for now. So if we're doing meat down there and we want all those housing blocks, it's going to be a little tight for space if we want to use that. So let's just see what we would have. This is as far away from there as we can get, and make a loop for meat. So when we turn the corner here, that's 15. We could fit 5 3x3 buildings there. Like maybe if we wanted to do our cattle farms and our hunting lodges down here and just have a meat area. It's a long way to bring the straw, but those cart pushers have a lot of time on their hands because it's a long time between floods, so I think that's reasonable. So if we, I don't want to spend too much money on roads right off the bat because we got a lot of things to do up in the north there. So if we did a little, if we plan to do a 15 by 5 loop here, then we can start building our housing out from this way. So the way I like to do my blocks is I count a garden just as a aesthetic buffer between my work blocks and my housing blocks. So we'll go garden, house, house, and here's our road. If we paint our house on the corner, it has road access there. So that'll be our first housing block. Now I want to do possibly evolve the houses here up to stately manor, so I'm gonna do a thing that I learned from Attican, sorry. So if we go house, house, garden, road, then this is where we'll put our temple complex area. And I like to use the temple complex area for my mansion and my festival plaza and make this kind of the artistic center of the town. So we'll try to play with that a little bit later. But if we make this block here for the temple complex, we need 7 wide and 13 deep. So that's 7 across. And then if we go up 13, I do a lot of pre-planning with my cities before I even drop anything down. I apologize for it, but hopefully it exposes the city builders that are watching this to maybe a little bit of a new style of doing things. Sorry, I wanted to look at the mansion, not the city palace, because I want room for a bazaar here that's going to feed the houses on the outside of this loop, kind of a backdoor approach. I'll talk about that more and how I got that idea from watching Attican. So we want to go 5 plus 13, so we need 18. So 7 across and 18 deep, so that'll be our temple complex area. I probably shouldn't have put that road down, I got overexcited. So garden, house, house, road. Here will be housing block number 2. And I think that's all we're going to do for initial planning here, except for I think I'm going to do my first festival right off the bat here. This might be a mistake because I might not be able to afford 650, but I'll give it a shot because it's handy to keep Bast happy if you can. So hopefully every January I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to give a small gift to Pharaoh from my personal mansion, and I'll throw a festival to Bast. So we haven't really done much, but that's a pretty good start. We know where our first bunch of housing is going to be. We know where we're going to feed these people from. We know where we're going to set up our economic engine, our trade area. We know how we're going to feed them. So I think that's pretty good. So let's think about the farming here too, because we want to make sure we irrigate it. I don't know. Got lucky, I think, because I forgot all about water lift when I was doing my planning, and I totally missed this 2 area here. So I think that's probably our logical place for that water lift. So I want to supply the workers with the same workers that get the dock. So I'm going to go 2 off the dock, and that's probably how we're going to provide our water lift. So that's our initial irrigation ditch. So we're going to be able to fit some farms probably around here. We got to make sure that we don't crash into the area we need for that shipwright. So we can't put any farms here. So let's take a look to see what we can do there, because we know what we want on the shore, we know what we want here. So once we get that done, we can start to stick a housing block kind of anywhere. So let's, sorry, flax farms. So that would be 1. I really wish when you put a meadow farm down, it would give you a little, instead of just telling you it's going to cost 52 gold, I wish it would tell you what the fertility was, but maybe that'll be a quality of life fix for another day. So let's do this one. I can always start over if I have to. If all of a sudden you see the screen go blank and you come back and I've drawn new roads out somewhere, I'll tell you it's because I gave up and went back. So that's reasonable. And then we would want to go back the other way. I wonder if we had room for 2 more there and not crash into the shipbuilder. Let's find out, because we can go here and then go this way. That would miss the, so if we picked up a road here, that would get employment for the shipyard. So I could technically go here and here with farms. So this is the fun part of the game for me. I know it probably isn't for people that are watching, if anybody's still watching at this point. But there's 5 farms. So that'll supply, 8 to 10 weavers, which is 5 for trade and 3 for us. So it might not be enough. I might have to limit trade later, because we're going to be using a lot of linen for the estate housing, and we're going to be using linen for mortuaries. Since I'm going to be going right away to producing flax, I might as well put that building down too. So I always like it when I don't have to erase a lot of stuff at the beginning, because a lot of your initial costs, especially if you're a pre-planner like me, you can spend a lot of money on roads, and you can spend a lot of money on erasing things, like erasing kingdom roads, and you can blow a lot of money without even knowing that you're blowing a lot of money. I don't know if I have to erase that, so I won't yet. I might later. So we need to supply for our fishing boats down the road, so let's get that road down. So we've got employment for the water lift, employment for the farms, irrigation for the farms, we've got employment for the dock, we've got employment for the, well, when I'm saying employment, I mean road access, which will lead to employment for the 2 fishing wharfs. So I guess probably before the next thing that's gonna limit us in terms of where I put my housing and stuff is the storage for the docks. So say we want to do wood, papyrus, linen. So that's 3 storage yards for sure. And then if we do our military over here, and if we're bringing in beer over here, probably going to need like 4 for sure, maybe 5. So let's do 4 of them here, which is going to let us take them to town. So if we do 4, so that'd be 1, 2, 3. I like to count out loud, I'm sorry. I'm going to try not to do that for the rest of the video, but I can't make any promises. So 6 and 6, so that'll fit 4 storage yards there. So I guess housing makes sense if we stick the housing block here, and that'll let us put wood closer to the wood choppers closer to the wood. We can do papyrus definitely over here, the granary for the fish over here. I don't know where we're going to put the weavers yet, but either over here or over here. But let's plan out our little housing block here, and then we can maybe actually start playing the game. So garden, house, house, road. So a small block for me has got a 4 internal. Makes sense to send the road out down towards the... So if this is the top of our papyrus block, we want 5 papyrus to start, probably 10 total, because we're going to be using a lot of papyrus. 5 for trade and 5 for us. So let's see how deep we can go here. And we got to get a granary in here somewhere too. So we want 10 papyrus makers, 3 reed gatherers, probably to support that many papyrus makers. We might use our reeds up. It's not a big patch, but this game, the new Pharaoh, surprises me how quick things regrow. So we'll give it a shot. I can always just sell less papyrus later once I start doing taxes, right? So that's 10. I didn't have to chop that little bit of wood down. So here's a 10 by 4 little patch. So we can put reeds down here, 1, 2, 3 reeds probably, and then if we go 6 papyrus here, and then I don't know, we'll have to count how many we could do. But let's get them down now, because we're gonna want to get those employed like right off the bat. This will be one of the first things that we want to employ, is going to be these farms, so we can sell linen as quick as possible. We'll want to get papyrus out as quick as possible, and we'll want to get wood out as quick as possible. Now I don't know if I can't place that because there's a tree there. That's the birds. So I'm going to just go unpause for a second till that bird moves, and then I'm gonna see if I can drop this reed gatherer down. There we go. So I'm gonna pause it again. I don't want to have any time pass until we're ready to bring people in, because we still want to get a lot of granite in over this first short year. We want to get all 30 of those granite in so we can save a year on our mission. So I think if we do 5 papyrus right off the bat, I think 2 regatherers will be fine for that. Okay, so there's one little hub of our industry. Here's the seed of another industry. Did too much road there. I don't usually make a complete loop around my housing block. It's not the way I usually use them, but in this case I think it makes sense. Because if we do wood right here, which will put us the woodcutters closest to the wood, then we'll put the linen, the weavers over here, because we don't want them over here because that's way too far to deliver. So if we put them here, we can have a short delivery to the storage yard here. We have a short delivery to the storage yard here. Got a bit of a long delivery for the wood, but wood doesn't operate the same as these guys. They just fill up, and they take a while to fill up, so they got a bit of time for that cart walker to get, plus the guys that cut the wood have to go very far. They're not as efficient as this, they're not as regular. This one we know we're doing 564 units of papyrus per year out of here, and if they have to walk too far, then the production just sits at 100 till the cart pusher gets back. So we want short walks for the weavers and for the papyrus makers to the storage yards. When you're doing bigger cities, you gotta think about little efficiencies like this. Like, we want our fishing wharf close to the granary. We want the bazaar lady not to have to walk too far to the thing, so I think we'll put the entrance to our housing block here, since we know. Well, let me check. I might have put it on the wrong side. No, so the entrance to the granary is on the far side of this block, so that's the correct side. If the entrance to the granary was over here, we would have wanted the housing block entrance over here so we could go here, but since we're picking up the fish right here, we'll want the entrance here so the bazaar lady doesn't have to go very far. And we won't be doing anything with these people other than providing them with services for cultivating, but we're not going to try to evolve this up very high because we don't want a lot of population here, so we'll probably just not even give them pottery. I don't think I'm going to do pots over here and try to sell pots. I don't think I have the room for storage yards. I don't have a good way to feed a pottery industry. My shoreline's all getting used up. I can't put clay anywhere, I don't think, easily. And I still want to do my military up here because I'm going to put my transport wharf here. So actually we might want to, now that I'm thinking about it, before I go any further. So that won't feed the wharf if we go in a straight line. I love straight lines. I don't see any reason to I think that's uglier than that. So we'll do that. Probably stick a architect or a firehouse somewhere here once we start planning out how we're going to keep this all from burning down. So we'll want to think about our military and our forts over here. We're going to have a lot of wood down in the storage area here, so we were thinking about another dock, so maybe this is the place for the other dock, so we could put bows. because I don't think we're going to do copper on this mission. I can make wood, so I might as well do bows and archers, and we'll roll the dice that nothing too big's going to come along where we're going to want to be sending infantry. So I think we're going to have one transport wharf, so we'll do 2 companies of archers with bows, and hopefully nothing bad happens to us. I'm trying to remember back from playing Bubastis a long time ago, and I don't think it's a military mission, but we'll find out. Again, if all of a sudden this video disappears, it'll be because of that. Okay, so wood. How long is this? Oops. That's 12? Do we want 12 woodcutters? Might as well. Might as well see if we want 12 woodcutters. Okay, so this is where we're going to do the woodcutters. We could do 12 of them. 8,000 wood. What the heck? If we bring enough people in, they're only 65 gold. I gotta start keeping an eye up top how much gold we have left, because I want to be able to open at least that first trade route that just buys wood, because this is going to take a while to ramp up. This is going to take a while to ramp up. So probably the smartest first trade route would be the one to Icken, and then when we make our first money off the wood, we can open Ha, and by that time hopefully we'll have something for them to buy. So that means we're going to put weavers over here, but I won't do that right now because I think we've spent enough money on the initial setup. We still got to do houses and get the gods happy. Okay, so this is my small block. We have feeder housing on the outside. I usually run a road like along it. I don't usually run it all the way around, but I mean we do have like 4 areas that we're trying to get employment from, so it just made sense to do that full loop around there. So that is housing, which means that this is our bazaar. Now I'm going to do another trick I learned off of Attican watching about, I would just lay down a strip of houses and then I would just try to manage it later if they evolved funny, but he was demonstrating a really nice way to lay down housing, which I shamelessly am borrowing. And that way they all evolve in 4x4s. It's a really a neat little trick. So I like to do things on the points. So this is our bazaar. This is our water supply. We'll stick our tax collector here when we start doing taxes, and then we'll do our physician right here. Now down the road, when we start doing culture, every house is gonna, or every person alive is gonna need access to a mortuary more than likely. So it is possible we're gonna be taking some of these houses out to swap for tribal or scribal schools or mortuaries, but for right now we just want the housing. So let's make sure everybody get something to drink, they don't get sick. Eventually they'll get food once we start getting established. So here back to the trick with housing. Tax collectors there. So then we'd come back and fill in the other spots where we're going to put houses, and people will show up here first, and then they'll show up over here, and then they'll come back to here, and these houses will be done by then. And so this next one here that I'm putting down will evolve into a 4x4. The neat thing about it is I still have all the houses down at the same time, but people will come in here, then they'll come in here, then they'll come in here, and then they'll just go back around in a loop, and it'll all be 4x4s, and I won't ever have to think about it ever again. So thanks, Anakin, for that. It's been fun watching you do your videos since New Pharaoh came out. So this area is basically done, except we don't have a dock yet, which I don't really care about because I don't want the dock, and I don't want to open the trade routes until we've got some wood to sell. Speaking of which, I guess we should at least get 2 of our storage yards down. Now this is a long walk for these guys, so I either want that storage yard here for the wood, or here for the wood. Probably here for the papyrus, because that's not too far of a walk. Probably here for the linen, here for stuff we import and make. So maybe we'll go wood here and papyrus here. Accept all wood and accept all papyrus. And now let's make it so it doesn't burn down. Now these guys won't collapse, they'll only burn. And just for aesthetic purposes, I don't want to stick a random thing on the outside. I like things kind of tidy. So I'm just going to stick a firehouse there. These will burn, but they won't collapse. These are safe from anything. This is safe from anything. This will burn and collapse. The other thing is I don't like roadblocks. I hate them. I don't use them unless I absolutely have to. So I won't put any roadblocks in this area except for this one here, just because I don't want things that are dedicated to the housing block to be wandering around. So this is a necessary evil. If you've ever played Emperor the Last Kingdom, which is another Sierra Impressions city builder, they had little gate houses here instead of roadblocks, and you could actually tell it which workers could go through it and which ones couldn't. So if you wanted to, you could not let anybody out except for maybe your fire guy. He could leave and do some fire prevention other places. But that's not a feature we have. So all we have is these ugly, ugly pylons, which I don't like. So I don't trust this fire guy to get my docks over here. This guy might get them, but let's just play it safe, and we'll do one there. This is supposed to be the 2 for the wharf, so I can maybe stick an architect right here. This is the only architect we're gonna run here, because he's definitely gonna catch a hold of these guys. When we build the fishing wharves and the dock later, I'll probably stick another architect over here, because we'll need to protect the granary too. But that should be good, actually. When I do the weavers over here, I'll probably stick another firehouse here. So now we just gotta finish up setting up our housing block, because it needs fire protection, it needs services from a god. I don't want to do too many temples to Bast, because I'm going to be building a temple complex, but the other blocks I'm going to do take two temples, so I'll probably stick the Bast temple here. So if you've ever seen my housing blocks done before or seen them at Heaven Games, then you'll know that I try to balance them out for population and cultural venues and things like that, so I don't have to build like pavilion farms anywhere or scribal school farms anywhere. So this will end up being a bandstand, and this will end up being a booth. So the way that I have it set up is there's no courthouse in a small block, so I usually stick police there, I usually stick fire there, usually stick architect there. If I'm worried about malaria and I'm not sitting the houses on desert, I'll put an apothecary down, and this spot will be for a dentist later. And then this little 3x3 area that's left after the bandstand is in is where I put the temple. So as long as this gets food and entertainment, it'll evolve up to, I think, ordinary cottages. Anyways, it'll be asking for pottery next, which we won't give it. So it'll be those nice little square greenhouses. Eventually, when we've got some money, we'll decorate it, because everything's got to look good at the end. But I think that's all we got to do for now to start making some money up here. As soon as the wood hits the yard, then we'll build the dock, open up the trade route. We still got enough money to set up that trade route, so let's go down to the city proper and start actually getting some population, because this won't have enough workers to supply everything we're going to do here. Plus we're going to very quickly ignore this whole area forever. It's just going to work. Okay, so I modified my housing block because of the way culture is so wonky here. I used to build a housing block, stick a pavilion here, a booth here, bandstand up here, but I just having real trouble in New Pharaoh with keeping these things stable and keeping the venue staffed, and when you don't keep your venue staffed, your culture just yo-yos. So I've tried to figure out a way where I can put at least the conservatory and the juggler school in my block. I lose a house, but the rejigging I did, I think, is worth it. It does end up with the housing mainly here on the outer edges, and then all the services tend to be piled in on this side, which is good-ish because it's close to the exit. Still end up with a feeder house here as part of the plan, so I end up being able to provide employment on the top, down the side away from the entrance, right by the entrance. I don't have a lot of feeder housing for this side, so this whole little meat block is going to be getting its population from this house right here. So instead of going 6 across, I go 5 across, because I'm going to put some 3x3 buildings down along here. And instead of having my bandstand up top, I actually am sticking my bandstand right here. So the new entertainment plan is going to be for pavilion, booth, and bandstand. Then we'll put our gods here, put our library and our courthouse here. We'll hide our conservatory right in here. We'll hide our juggler booth right up against juggler school right up against the booth. So we'll have the ability to keep these guys really into jugglers and musicians pretty easily. So we'll be more stable, and then we'll have a dance school somewhere that's gonna just come in and provide the dancers. I usually do a dance school for every 2 blocks, and I'm trying to do a conservatory and a juggler school in every big block now. When I do a medium-sized block, I put those juggler school and the conservatory outside the block, but for these big blocks I'm sticking them in. So let's get the houses around this block, which will help us. And then I'm probably going to put a cut in the video and continue on later. Actually, let's, in case, well, I don't think we're going to be going after meat real fast, but I might as well get this house down first. So with this temple complex where it is, it's a really easy way to provide a third god and second food for this strip of housing here, and I can actually evolve like 6 or 7 stately manors. So I usually put my water supply here, but I thought I'd stick the juggler school there because it's a little closer to these things. So I'm actually going to do the water supply here, and he'll come out here and go around. It'll be pretty stable. So we also right off the bat want to get our other 2 gods down in this block. That'll keep everybody happy until we get about 750 people. So down the road, this will be where I put the conservatory, which will be real close to the bandstand and the pavilion. And I'll put the courthouse here, and I'll put the, or pardon me, I'll put the courthouse here, and I'll put the library here, and then I'll run things like the bazaar and the scribal school and the mortuary and the physician and the tax collector up here, and I'll use this little area here of 3 stuff for fire architect and apothecary and dentist. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cut in the video. This will actually be a house later because the road's going to catch this, but if I'm going to keep these 2 from devolving, I'm just going to have to stick a road there just temporarily, so when this evolves to a 4x4 house, it'll pick up stuff from there. And the courthouse, of course, goes there, which kind of finishes off the block. Okay, so I'm gonna put a cut in the video. When I come back, I'll start running it and see if we can make a little bit of money. Thanks for watching if you actually watched.